Welcome back to the YouTube channel, everyone. On today's show, we are going to be discussing the Pistons signing of Duncan Robinson, how he fits with the team, and we'll also touch on a potential huge sign and trade that could still be in the works. Let's get to it. So as we mentioned off the top today, the Pistons made another splash in free agency, completing a sign and trade for Miami Heat's Duncan Robinson. The Pistons will be sending back Simone Fontecchio to the Heat, and the Pistons in turn create enough cap space to sign Duncan Robinson to a 3-year, $46 million contract. Now, first of all, before we talk about Duncan and his fit with the team, let's talk about the contract, because the contract has some very interesting elements to it. Robinson, as I said, 3 years, $46 million, roughly equates to $16 million a year, which at first sounds like a lot, but there's some parts to this deal in years 2 and 3 that make this quite a flexible contract for the Pistons, and something that Pistons fans should not be worried about. And in turn, it actually is a good reflection on our front office and the deal they've made here. So Duncan Robinson's first year is fully guaranteed at approximately $16 million. His second year, as reported by Amari Sankofa III, is partially guaranteed at around $9 million. So basically, it is what it sounds like. The Pistons are not committing. They'll be able to make the decision on whether or not it's a guarantee in year 2. If they want to move on from him, they can trade that salary. And then the third year is non-guaranteed. So really, the Pistons here are only committing to a year and a half of salary for Duncan Robinson. That is a very movable contract if this deal doesn't pan out. So whilst it seems like a bit of an overpay, if it's more than what you expected for Duncan, I think a lot of fans are probably thinking around that $9-10 million range. But this is kind of the way I'm looking at this is, if Duncan hits and we're going to talk about his fit and how good he can be with this team, because he is a very, very elite NBA shooter and floor spacer. This deal, I think, is what you pay, at least in the first year, for someone who's one of the best shooters in the NBA. $16 million a year is kind of the going rate, I would say. Maybe slight overpay because of the deficiencies on defense. But then after that first year, that contract, this isn't a 3-year lengthy deal that teams might say, oh no, we don't want to bring this on because we've got 2 years of money or that kind of thing. So this is a very tradable contract. This and the Karis LeVert deal are both very tradable contracts. It's good to have these size contracts on your books when the Pistons want to make that all-in move, which I am now suspecting is going to be at the trade deadline or next summer, once they have some more intel on what this young core looks like together. Fingers crossed we have no major injuries like the past few years. But that's kind of the ins and outs of the deal. Like I said, $16 million in the first year, $9 million partial guarantee in the second year, or $9 million of the $16 million is guaranteed in year 2. Year 3, nothing's guaranteed. But if he's still on the roster and the Pistons want to move forward with it, he would be eligible for that $16 million a year in year 3. So that's the ins and outs on the deal. Let me know your thoughts on that with that information. Now, moving on to Duncan the Player. Duncan Robinson is the best shooter that Miami Heat have ever had on their roster. He is an elite movement shooter in the NBA. He is a guy that's pretty much sitting at 39% on around 6 to 7 3-point attempts for his career, not just one season, career. He's an excellent shooter off movement. Just a couple of numbers here. He shot 40% from 3. These are from last year. 40% on 3 last year overall. On catch and shoot, I believe he was, just one moment here. On catch and shoot looks, overall, he was 40% once again. On guarded catch and shoots, so when there's a defender in the area, hand up in his face, 36%. And partially this is because he is like 6'7", 6'8". He can shoot over the top of a lot of defenders with his quick release. Listen to the open catch and shoot numbers, 45%. How many times in the past have we seen Cade swing it to open shooters and they can't knock it down? Now, Duncan is a guy that's probably rarely going to be open, but when he is, he does not miss. 45%, that's a crazy number on open catch and shoots. On pull-up threes, where there's a dribble involved, where this is coming off a handoff or 1-2 dribble in transition, 39%. And then to add in there, 47% on floaters. Last year, averaged 2 assists, career high. improved facilitator, did some stuff on dribble drives. This is a guy that defenses are going to be constantly worried about. The Pistons haven't had a movement shooter like Duncan since I've been a fan and can recall. He's more of the mold. Like Malik and THJ are volume shooters and they come off some action, but a lot of the stuff they do is there's no dribbles involved and they will come off a screen or two. But Duncan literally is more of that Steph Curry mold in the sense he's always moving around. When I would watch the Pistons play Miami, Duncan Robinson would always scare me because he's constantly moving and getting handoffs from Bam. Like I can see a lot of synergy between him, Robinson, and Jalen Duren as a little handoff duo. Cade Cunningham is going to generate Duncan a ton of open looks. So I really like this on offense. And then if you look at the defensive side of the ball, yes, Duncan Robinson isn't known for his defense, but like I said, 6'8", that's a bigger body than THJ and Beasley, who weren't known for their defense. So look, you can maybe still look at this as a slight overpay if you like. I kind of don't because of the other elements of the contract we just discussed. I think Duncan's going to be a really nice fit on this team. And I think him and Karis LeVert, I think those two there have solidly replaced a lot of what Schroder and Tim Hardaway Jr. brought and a little bit of what Malik brought. Pistons probably still lacking shooting to what they were last year. But you also bring back Jaden Ivey, who's a 40% shooter from 3 on 5 attempts a game. So you replace a little bit of that. But I tell you what, if you look at their rotation, Jaden Ivey might be the only guy that's shorter than 6'6". Last season, THJ shorter than 6'6", Beasley shorter than 6'6". So like as good as Bees and THJ were, and they're going to be, questionable if we can replace their shooting. They gave up a lot on defense for the Pistons, and just the overall size was lacking at times with this roster. So definitely bolstered the size. Duncan Robinson is an elite shooter. I'm telling you guys, he's going to make us fans happy with a lot of knockdown threes, and he's going to create internal space for our other players, driving lanes, because the defense is going to be so glued to him even when he's off the ball. So I think it's a really good signing, considering especially the circumstances the Pistons were dealt with the Malik Beasley situation, which is still unfolding as we speak. But final thing we want to talk about quickly, the Pistons could still very much be in discussions with the Sacramento Kings for a sign and trade. Dennis Schroder, I'm going to credit my guy Carl Metz, who was on both free agency live streams we've done here on Pistons Jack. He mentioned today that the Dennis Schroder deal, the 3 years, $45 million to the Kings, that third year is non-guaranteed, which means there could still be a sign and trade between the Pistons and Kings. Now, Detroit, how this works, they have 4 or 5 days to get a deal done with the Kings. This is still very much a thing that can be happening right now as we speak. The Pistons can, with the Schroder deal, this sign and trade, the Pistons can bring back a player worth $22 million annually. So this opens the door for the Pistons to potentially do a 3-team trade with maybe the Jazz to bring in John Collins. You'd probably have to send out Sassa's salary to get from 22 to 25 of what Collins is. But the Pistons could get John Collins and he could fill that backup for need that the roster kind of is missing. There's still a chance they could get Malik Monk, even though it kind of doesn't make much sense now, especially with them adding Duncan Robinson. But they could still bring back Malik Monk on $22 million. There's any contract that's around that $22 million, the Pistons can do that with this Schroder deal. Now, obviously, the Kings would make it the easiest way to get a deal done because from their roster, there's a world where it could be Keegan Murray. Very, very, very unlikely. But there's still a chance the Pistons pull off another big trade. So keep your eyes glued. The offseason is not over. Trajan's still making moves. The Pistons still, in my opinion, definitely need to add someone to play backup 4 minutes. So another front court player I think is needed. Whether or not they go over the cap and do this sign and trade with the Kings, and whether it's a 3-team deal or directly at the Kings to bring in another player, they can do that. Or the other option is if they want to stay under the cap, they won't be able to do the sign and trade with the Kings. They can use the room exception of $8.8 million to sign another player. So I know a stretch big you could look at there. There's no one really left. It'd be someone like Trey Lyles. Or anyone you can see as a free agent that you think would sign for $8.8 million or less, they can use that on them. I think it would be maybe silly to use that on Lyles because I think you could maybe get him for a minimum, but just a stretch big option I'm throwing out there. But The other team is the Pacers. Who knows what's going on there? The Pistons might be able to pull off something with them, with maybe Obi Toppin. They can work a 3-team with the Kings and the Pacers. Just another couple of names. Jarris Walker is a young piece on their team that, in light of the Miles Turner deal and going to the Bucks and Hallie being out, maybe the Pacers take a similar path as the Celtics and look to retool a bit, and the Pistons might be able to get some of their guys. So just some things to keep an eye on, but stay here with Pistons Jack. We've got you covered with all of it. Appreciate all the love recently, all the new subscribers. The channel is growing. Appreciate you all. So stay here, stick with me. I got you covered. As always, go Pistons.